I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati.
Oh, let's get ready to rumble. Let's get ready to rumble, ladies and gentlemen. It is time. That's right. Believe it or not, it is now time for Donald Trump's presidential inauguration. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you're new, I want to let you know that Sabby Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Sabby and JB show. And you can catch me here on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and every other Sunday evening. But today is an exception because today I am live at an unusual time because we are going to cover Donald Trump's presidential inauguration. We have quite a bit to get into. We are also going to discuss what recently happened with TikTok. We're going to go over the Gaza ceasefire as well. And we're also going to tap into the criticism that a lot of celebrities are receiving at this point in time that have decided to entertain at Donald Trump's presidential inauguration. Is there some type of hypocrisy there? So I do want to go ahead and dive in, because the official swearing in starts at noon. So I want to make sure we stay on schedule. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope that you are having a great MLK Day. Yes, it is MLK's Day. I don't know how I feel about having a presidential inauguration on MLK's holiday, but here we are. Here we are. We are also going to show some of the protests that are happening as well. So there's a lot that we'll go back and forth with. Hopefully you'll see something different here. A lot of people are covering this morning. So hopefully you'll see something a little bit different. We're going to give a shout out to Michelle Rodriguez for becoming a Sabby member. Give Michelle a big whoop, whoop. Herman says, at least Trump has gotten the ceasefire. We're going to talk about a multitude of things that Democrats could have done and decided not to do. And it has to make you somewhat angry, especially if you did support Kamala Harris or if you did support Joe Biden. You have to be somewhat frustrated with these things. Robert is funny. Robert says, seems like MAGA sure did a lot of traveling for folks who couldn't afford gas or eggs just a month ago. Interesting, Robert. I would imagine those are the people that have money. Someone asked me to come to DC to cover this, and I was like, I really can't afford that right now, because going to DC for me, I'm in Boston, but it's not a cheap trip. It is expensive, and hotel prices at this point in time for the presidential inauguration are even more expensive than normal because of that event. So anywho, I'm here to live stream it. So welcome. Start us off right. Smash the like. And we're going to go ahead and get started with this. I want to cover two things before we get into the inauguration. Number one, over the weekend, while we were just chilling, minding our own damn business, many of you noticed that all of a sudden TikTok went dark. That's right. TikTok went dark. There were a number of questions about this. People thought that Biden was going to try to make some change here. I don't know why people thought that, because he signed the bill. Then Donald Trump was saying that he could try to save TikTok. So let's get into a couple of things that happened. AOC released this video here, and I don't know if everyone saw this, explaining what happened in Congress with the TikTok ban. Let's get into this here.
Since this is coming up soon. Last year, when they brought this ban up for a vote, number one, they said it's a national security issue, it's a national security issue. I said, okay, that's serious. Let's see the case. Let's see the intelligence. Let's see what's going on. I can tell you that what was presented to all of the members voting on this thing was not very compelling. Like, there was no real information that was given that was a smoking gun, that was anything specific. It was very vague, not convincing, and frankly, it was not convincing to many other members as well. In fact, very high-ranking members on the House Foreign Affairs Committee came to me after the briefing, and they were very shocked and pretty surprised at the lack of substantive information in the briefing. They were genuinely expecting there to be some real or compelling intelligence shared that would substantiate the argument.
Okay. So what that means, if that is the case, what that means is that members of Congress voted on a bill that they were unsure about, or voted on a bill that they did not understand. If our Congress members are actively voting on pieces of legislation that they don't understand, why are they there? This is the question that people need to ask. Two, I also kind of don't buy this that they didn't fully understand, and I'll explain why. I have been talking about the TikTok ban for months. Corporate media also has been discussing the TikTok ban for months. It's not like it just came out of nowhere. And I think we all knew what the repercussions were for a TikTok ban. We knew what that meant. So I find it very hard to believe that members of Congress had no idea what this legislation fully represented. I do want to remind you that Joe Biden signed that law in April of 2024. So we either have a couple of things happening. We have Congress members not paying attention to what's happening around them. I find that difficult to believe in some ways, because as many times as they appear on corporate media, I find it hard to believe they don't watch corporate media. Two, some of the Congress members also watch independent media. So if they were watching independent media, they also would have known what this bill really represented. And then there's three. I think most of them wanted it gone. Most of them wanted this gone because the ADL presented tremendous pressure against Congress to remove TikTok because of the information that TikTok was revealing about the state of Israel. And that's really what this comes down to. So I find that very hard to believe. And I think because this was a bipartisan piece of legislation, I think the majority of Congress wanted it gone. Now, what should have happened? If you were really gravely concerned about protecting the privacy of our data, then we should have something in place in this country that does just that, that does not allow different companies to access our data. But again, with TikTok, that's not really what it was about. It was really coming from that pressure from the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. That's what they should have been pushing. There should have been a bill for that. And it's not just TikTok, that's Facebook, that's Twitter, any of these apps that you use can access your data. So the bill that should have been brought to the floor was something in reference to that, not to ban an app. We are looking at a grave danger when it comes to citizen censorship in this country. And that is exactly what this is. The fact that the government could shut down an app that most people are using to do dances, that's what most of the videos are. The government, the power of the government here was very enormous overreach, in my opinion. And whether you agree with China or Israel or Gaza or not, one thing that I think we all can agree with, it is dangerous for the government to silence people in such a way. We'll go on a little bit more here.
And there just wasn't. And they were surprised at the lack of information presented at it. And then also, additionally, this bill, which is very large and substantive, like in terms of its impact, came to the Energy and Commerce Committee. It was marked up and it was brought to the floor like in a matter of, 1 or 2 weeks. I'm trying to remember, it was just a few weeks, which is very, very fast. Very. Additionally, the degree to which corporations surveil the American people without genuine consent and without real mechanisms for opting out should be illegal, point blank, period. And so many of us naturally said, the answer is not just playing endless whack-a-mole with apps. The answer is that we should have real privacy legislation in the United States, and we should help people own their information and have greater agency over their personal information so that they're not being spied on all the time, whether it's a domestic company or a foreign company. So
we'll go ahead and stop it there. I just want people to understand the game that is being played against you. Like, I don't buy a lot of this. So long story short, Joe Biden signed the law back in April 2024. And so what does this do? This sets up a layup for Donald Trump. I mean, if we're playing basketball here, use a little bit of sports reference. If we're playing basketball here, I mean, Joe Biden was the guard. He had the ball in his hand. He passed the basketball to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump just laid a layup. This is another example where the Democratic Party refuses to get in front of an issue. They refuse to take the lead. They always want to be reactive. Then the moment that TikTok went dark, the Democrats are all on Twitter saying, Biden's going to try to see if he can save it. He signed the law. He signed the law. And so we really have to look at both things here. Donald Trump was the one who considered doing it when he was still president. Joe Biden then signed it into law. So you have bipartisanship agreement about the TikTok ban. Now, Donald Trump comes in for the layup, and this was him yesterday. Listen to what he says.
And as of today, TikTok is back. So, I did a little TikTok thing. We have a guy, TikTok Jack. He's a young kid, like 21 years old. And we hired this guy, and I went on TikTok. Can you believe what I'll do to win an election? And we went on TikTok, and Republicans have never won the young vote.
See what happened here? You're right. It's an assist. Sorry. But do you see what is just happening here? So Donald Trump comes in looking like the hero now. Like, this is how I feel. And for those of you who are new, always got to explain this. I did not support Donald Trump. I did not support Kamala Harris. I voted for Jill Stein. I supported third party candidates. So I don't have a dog in this fight between these two parties. I think we should leave these two parties. But that being said, Donald Trump doesn't even have to try hard because the Democrats screw up so much that they make it easy for him. And he takes advantage of these situations because he's like, oh, okay, so this happened. All right, I'll go ahead and respond like this. And I think look, my biggest concern, and TikTok is back now, by the way, my biggest concern is the fact that we literally have a government that chose to just silence an entire app and silence voices. Do you know that small businesses lost money? They lost money when TikTok went dark. When I said this doesn't just affect creators and this is a labor issue, this is what I was talking about. There's a number of small businesses that advertise on TikTok. This is how they bring in revenue for their business. And it's been very beneficial. I found products on TikTok because of those advertisements. So they lost money during that time. None of this had to happen. The app didn't have to get shut down, period. None of it had to happen. It's just, whether you think it's theater whether you think it's performative, whatever. Yes, it's true. Like the owner of TikTok didn't really have to move in that way if he didn't want to, but none of that is besides the point. The real big issue is the fact that our government is increasing censorship against the American people. They are using excuses of China for being the reason why they want to shut these things down, when all of us saw, and I covered multiple times, that the ADL made a public statement that they wanted to shut the app down. And I said this as well on X when I was showing this video. My response was, AOC says there's no real information given about the TikTok ban. One, this means Congress voted on a bill they supposedly didn't understand. Two, there was public info that was provided. Here is part of it. The ADL wanted to shut it down. Three, Biden signed the bill. And for those who have not seen it, here it is here. Because people are like, where? I don't see it. Don't forget, in April, Biden signed the law to ban it. Our Congress is not incompetent. Let's stop saying that. They are corrupt. They gave into pressure from the ADL. Corporate media and indie media have been discussing the ban for months. How the hell would they not know about it? Remember this, April 30th, 2024, Biden signs law that includes provisions to ban TikTok from the United States. So I don't buy that our congressional members just, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't hear anything about this. I don't really buy that. That being said, the fact that this was included in a package with other issues, which most bills are, just proves my point once again that we need single issue bills in Congress. That could also solve that problem, but it was bipartisan and they tried to silence you, and that is not okay with Sabby. Not okay with me. We're going to go to one more. I got one more story I want to cover before they go into the swearing in ceremony here. Rappers are entertainers. Okay, let's start off like this. Rappers are entertainers. There are a number of people who are really angry with Snoop, Soulja Boy, Rick Ross, and one of my faves, Nelly. I love a Nelly song. Put on a Nelly song and I'll just dance just like that. I love a Nelly song. And Nelly, because they decided to perform at Donald Trump's inauguration. I believe Soulja Boy performed at a crypto event. So did Snoop. But they are really angry that they are going to perform at this presidential inauguration. Let's get into this clip here from CNN and we'll dive into this.
Snoop and Nelly are going to be at this thing. And I think it really does beg the question whether the culture is starting to thaw to Donald Trump. I mean, are they?
About time.
I don't think so. We definitely saw a lot of people, Sexy Red, others say, he sent me a check, so I'm good with him, the stimulus check. And I understand that there is that crew of people who are like, the stimmy check came, I like him now. Snoop and Nelly in particular are apolitical people and apolitical artists. Like you see Snoop with Martha Stewart, he's like, I fly over, I want everyone to like me. I think this is more about capitalism than politics. Somebody said, Snoop, it's the crypto ball. We got $250 for you or $150 for one night. Come do 10 songs, 6 songs, whatever. Yeah, I'm there, homie.
But
Nelly, the same thing.
There are a lot of rappers who have sided with Donald Trump. For all kinds of, he pardoned several of them.
He was giving away pardons.
Yeah,
he was giving away pardons to people, and that's why they were endorsing
But
him.
I mean,
Pause. So these are the rappers they're upset about: Snoop, DaBaby, Kodak Black, Waka Flocka Flame, Kanye West, Lil Wayne. Some of them that they are, not too happy with. But this is not new, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, when I was growing up, I remember seeing Donald Trump in rap videos, in R&B videos. He was in Bobby Brown's On Our Own video. It was one of the songs for Ghostbusters, the second Ghostbusters. He was in that video. Like, rappers used to mention Donald Trump in their songs. So that's not something that's new. What changed is when Donald Trump became president, right? And there was this co-signing from African-American leaders, we'll say leaders, okay? African-American leaders that said we cannot coalesce with Donald Trump, right? Because of some of his rhetoric, etc., which I get. What they seem to misunderstand is that if we are going to be this way, we have to be this way across the board on both sides of the aisle. Now, there were rappers that performed for Kamala Harris. Meg Thee Stallion did. Remember all the celebrities that came out to help Kamala Harris? If you're going to take that view, it needs to be applied on both sides. If you don't think that celebrities should be performing for these presidential candidates or presidents, then it needs to happen for both sides, whether it's the Republican or the Democrat. That's my take on it. I told you last year, I don't agree with celebrities endorsing politicians. I don't think celebrities should be involved in this at all. And I want to explain why. Celebrities are entertainers. Celebrities make their money by entertaining people. Okay. Like all different types of people, not just people who are Democrats, not just people who are Republicans. When celebrities hold concerts, they don't say, I'm just going to perform for the people who supported Joe Biden or the people who supported Kamala Harris. They perform in front of everybody, everybody. So when you as a celebrity choose to endorse a politician, that can affect your career. There are people right now online saying cancel Snoop, cancel Nelly. First of all, Nelly's probably one of the happiest. He's always smiling. He's always smiling. People that you'll ever see. And people are like, cancel them, uninvite them from the cookout. So uninvite them from the cookout, but invite Joe Biden, invite Crime Bill Joe. What are we doing here? What are we doing with this? Let's continue.
What's going on there? What is it about these particular?
These are not the intellectuals of hip hop. These are not except for Kanye. These are typically not political people at all. Like I said, there's some in the hood. There's this notion of he's tough. He gave us money, right? They're not.
I was reminded also. I mean, back in the 80s, Donald Trump was, at the boxing matches. He was with Don King. I mean, he was in a different place in the culture. He went into the 90s as the subject of rap songs. And just, Gail, I know you're not a rap expert, but
I am definitely
not a rap expert, but something happened in this election maybe where because of his victory, all the business people were like, you know what? Trump is no longer politically toxic. And some of these folks are making the exact same calculation on the music side as well.
They are doing exactly that. And it is an honor. It's an honor to be able to sing at an inauguration. It's an honor to be able to sing at one of the balls. It's an honor. I have a daughter who's a singer, and she was on American Idol, one of the finalists.
Yes, that's right. I remember that.
And she was asked to sing at a convention. And she lost so many friends and so many fans because she agreed to sing.
Wow.
And I just think it's time for entertainers to get out of politics and entertain.
Well, they're getting into politics.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow. Shut up and dribble. Wow.
But I agree with her. Again, their job as a celebrity is to entertain. I don't think that they should come out. And again, it's their choice, but I think it's career suicide. I saw the same thing. People were canceling Carrie Underwood as well. Like, it just stay away from politics. Like, if it were me, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But if you were totally fine with Meg Thee Stallion shaking her little booty cheeks at Kamala Harris rally, then you should apply that same energy to Snoop and Soulja Boy and all of them that are performing for Donald Trump. But this isn't really about them performing. It's about the fact that they're not staying in line. It's about the fact that they're not staying on the side of the aisle where they feel because they're Black, that's where they should be. That's what this is about, ladies and gentlemen. And it just bothers me so much because if anything told us that we learned from this election is that the Black vote is disappearing from the Democratic Party. Since Barack Obama, it has continued to decrease over time. Kamala Harris lost because she lost the Black vote. Yes, she did well with Black women, but when you look at the amount of Black women and you look at the amount of Black men, she lost support with black men. You put the numbers together and you'll see she got less support from black people than Biden, than Hillary Clinton, and then of course from Barack Obama. It has been decreasing over time. I've been trying to warn people about this. So the more you tell black people that they have to stay in this certain lane, the more likely people are going to say, no, hell no, to hell with you. This has got to stop. This seriously has to stop. But again, they are entertainers. I want to get to this gentleman here. Let's get to Boykin. Here we go.
What would you tell him?
Well, I had a disagreement with Snoop, I think, a year or two ago. Something he endorsed Rick Caruso.
Did you tell him?
He was supporting Rick Caruso, for mayor of Los Angeles, who I disagree with, and I stated that publicly as well. But I think that a lot of these rappers are not the intellectuals in the community, as Teray was pointing out, but it's also a dishonor to the black community. Yeah. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump, the man who would refuse to rent to black people in the 1970s, who tried to lead a lynch mob against 5 black and brown kids in the 1980s for the Central Park case, who refused to allow black casino workers to have a prominent place in his casinos in Atlantic City in the 1990s, who spent 5.5 years lying about Barack Obama's birth certificate in the 2000s, who came into office and then attacked black people like Colin Kaepernick, who attacked Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss for simply doing their jobs as Fulton County election workers. You dishonor those people when you go and perform for this man who has done nothing but dishonor black people. And just last year, he was calling Haitian immigrants, accusing them of eating cats and dogs. This is not somebody that black people should be associated with and pretending to normalize. We should be challenging him. And it dishonors the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday we honor on Monday, to celebrate this man.
Snoop and Nelly are going to be.
Let's come out of here for a second. Since we want to go back into the past and talk about the past, let's go ahead and do that. When it comes to who we should associate with, if we're looking at what has happened in the past, and the things he said about Donald Trump are true, why are we applying that same energy to Joe Biden? Joe Biden, the segregationist. Why should black people associate with Joe Biden, who co-wrote the crime bills? His crime bills caused a lot of black men to serve longer sentences for a small amount of drugs when that could have never happened. Do people understand that when we talk about incarceration, when we talk about the for-profit prison system, do people not understand that Joe Biden was directly involved in that? So since we want to talk about past, why don't we apply that same energy to Joe Biden? Joe Biden, who was friends with racist Strom Thurmond, who had a black daughter, by the way. A lot of people didn't know about that, but I did. Why don't we talk about Joe Biden's friendship with Byrd and Strom Thurmond? Why don't we talk about Joe Biden's statements where he said he didn't want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle? Why don't we talk about Joe Biden co-writing crime bills with racist segregationists that directly impacted the black community? When we're talking about who we should associate with, we have to be consistent across the board. And if it is about who did things to the black community, shouldn't you also apply that to Joe Biden as well? Why was it okay for these rappers to go perform and hang out and dance a jig with Joe Biden when he did things to the black community? We're talking about Joe Biden wrote legislation that directly impacted black men. So why aren't we holding Joe Biden to that same standard? Because it's not really about that, folks. It's about partisan politics. You see, when it's our team, they can do those things. When it's our team, you turn the other cheek. When it's the opposition, you call it out. And the problem that people are starting to notice is that when you bring up the racial issues, and I've explained this as well from my own experience, you get this on both sides of the aisle. It's easy to point fingers at conservatives and say that they are racist because it's more overt. But now people start to see, they do a little bit of their research and some of their own experience, which a lot of these Democrat talking heads on CNN won't tell you. You got racist white liberals too, boo. Racist white liberals that don't want you living in their neighborhood, don't want you coming into their subdivision, participate in activities on the local level to make sure that you stay out of their communities. We got that too. Okay. So, Eric, we're going to have to come back to this story because they're starting. Okay. So they're starting. We're going to have to come back to this afterwards because I'm not finished. I got a couple of more things that I need to show about that particular issue. So, Eric, when you clip this, you're going to have to stitch them together. Okay. All right. So are we ready to go live to the inauguration? We're ready? Okay, I think we're ready. Okay. Eric, can we go to the second part of Tight VNC? We'll come back to that story after, guys, because I do want to, I should already have the link there, Eric. Yeah. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and go to the inauguration here. Yeah. And then get the live and we should be good. That's the protest one. If you, you're going to put up a different link. Okay. So he's going to put up a different link. While he's doing that, we'll go to some of the comments here. Thank you, R. Lee. Nelly said he's honoring the office, not the man. Nelly said he doesn't regret his decision. I'm going to show his response after this, but we got to go to the inauguration. I'll come back. Thank you, Sajad. Rap culture isn't anti-working class, glorifies trash. Eric said, did they just call black rappers stupid? Thank you, Kirk. Being black, more specifically being an N, has always been about being put in your place. The Dems' behavior towards black who dissent is a perpetuation of this raw truth. That's a really good point there. I think we're almost ready. Okay, we're ready. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and go in. It looks like they are doing the swearing in. So let's go ahead and bring this in. Just going to mute this for a second. I forgot to tell you guys that the inauguration is indoors this year because of the weather. Apparently, DC is receiving terrible cold weather today. I know it just snowed here in Boston last night. So, but yeah, frigid temperatures, they're calling it. So they're it's indoors, so I know it looks a little weird. Some of you might be wondering, like, what the hell is happening? But apparently they said the wind chills were going to be too cold, too much. So that's why it's indoors. So definitely a different look. Myra said it's 5 degrees here in Cincinnati. Damn. Okay, it's not that cold here in Boston, but good grief. And then Mario said it's cold, cold. Okay, let's see where we are here. I'm actually going to mute the music because I don't know about that, but what an interesting choice of music. What an interesting choice, ladies and gentlemen. But they're getting in here. Yeah, while we're waiting for that. Thank you, Jasmine. And you're absolutely right about Biden. He says, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. But other people got canceled for less by liberals. This is true. And thank you, Ronald. I believe it was George Washington who warned about political parties. And this is exactly why, because people's loyalty would be to the parties instead of the people. 100%. Thank you, Courtney. You better cook, Sabby. Thank you. And thank you, R. Lee. Nelly said he would have performed if Kamala won, and he was asked. He said he's not taking a political side. He's honoring the office. Nelly was a military kid. His father served in the Air Force. That's right. That's right. Okay.
Christ was born across the sea, with our glory in his bosom that transfigured to and
Yes, the music is. Brenda said the music is boring. Yeah, the music is pretty boring. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But you guys know how they do these things. You know how they do it. I got my tea with me today, guys, because it's earlier morning. I got up this morning and I was like, oh, I need my tea. I'm feeling a little groggy. So yeah. Why are they singing the Omen soundtrack? I don't know, dude. You guys know how they do this, right? People are like, what is with this music? Yeah. You guys know how they do it. But it is kind of weird. Like, how do you guys feel about this being indoors? It does look a little weird, right? But at the same time, I mean, you can't help it with the weather, right? Okay, go ahead, Eric. You go ahead and do that. You're better at that than me.
It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you the 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Vice President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. the vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end.
Yeah, one of the things that he talked about last night was declassifying the JFK files. I'll show that later, as well as MLK and RFK. We'll see if that happens, though.
And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country, sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people.
This is one of the things that, you know, and some Democrats don't like to hear this, but this is one of the reasons why some African Americans in this country voted for Donald Trump this time around, was because of the border issue. People that live in cities like Chicago, New York, even some in the Boston area as well, they decided to vote for him on this issue alone. Now, I will say, and I'm trying to warn you guys about this because Richard Wolff talked to me about this recently when he was on the podcast. When these if and when these mass deportations happen, one of the areas that's going to be hit the hardest is agriculture. And so people say, well, we'll just get Americans to do those jobs. Okay. I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see. But you do have to prepare yourself for what is to come after that. And one of the industries that's going to be hit the hardest is the agriculture industry. So prepare yourself for that.
Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country, some of whom are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. But we can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it. That's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them.
The healthcare system in this country is an absolute disaster. I agree with him on that. But this is where Donald Trump should be willing to push for a universal healthcare system in this country, similar to what they have in the UK. So actually a nationalized healthcare system. Luigi has taught a lot of people this, right? Has woken up a lot of people about this. And whether you agree with, what Luigi did or not, I don't advocate for violence, obviously. I think it did open up this conversation again that the healthcare system in this country is deeply, deeply flawed. And there have been a number of people that have gone, deal with bankruptcy because of the healthcare system, because they've gone into bankruptcy because they're paying for cancer treatments. So if we want to be this nation that really feels as though other countries should look to us, right? And we should be an example, which is what I feel like a lot of our leaders want. How are we that example when we don't even give everybody health care? Think about that.
All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly. My recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That is why each day under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
I can't believe Donald Trump said liberation. Infinite Mind has said that's not the real Trump. You guys are cracking me up. It's too early. It's too early for me to crack up. Oh my God.
It is my hope that our recent presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural, and very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states, and the popular vote, we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote.
Damn. That is like a straight up diss to Kamala and Biden are sitting like right behind him, by the way, I think to his right. So he's like, thank you so much for supporting me for your vote. That's like yeah, that's a diss to Kamala and to Biden. Jesus Christ, God.
We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
Let's make sure you say that to Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump, because Charlie Kirk is not happy about MLK Day and said some really nasty things about MLK. So make sure you say that to Charlie Kirk. I think he has your ear, or you have his ear. Make sure you tell him that.
Thank you. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride is soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Can't do that. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
So this is what some people voted for, right? Like not just people who are Republicans, there are people who were Democrats that voted for, particularly Black people that voted for Donald Trump because of that main issue. And I've talked to them. I've had them on the show. I've talked to them in person. So now he's saying he's going to sign that today. So this is one of the things. I'll let him finish and then I'll tell you about how the Democrats have how the Democrats could have done things that Donald Trump did as aggressively, right? Just by executive order aggressively. And they chose to be passive.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders.
I didn't even know they could do that. Did you guys know that you can send U.S. troops to the border? Like this, guys, it's about to get wild. It's about to get wild. I'm trying to tell you, because one thing I will say about Donald Trump, although I don't agree with most of his policies, what Donald Trump does is he shows you what the president can do. And then you sit back and you look at Biden and everybody else, and you're like, why didn't you guys use your power in that way? Why weren't you more aggressive with some of the things that you said you wanted to pass for the American people, and we'll say like pass, but why weren't you operating in that way? So that is one thing I will say about Donald Trump, is that he does show you what a president can actually do. I may not agree with most of the shit, but it just shows you the power of the presidency. What a mess.
I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices.
Again, something that they could have. Here's Biden and Kamala right here. Here's Bill doing whatever Bill usually does. And it's like, why you guys could have done these things. This is what I was trying to tell you guys. They could have taken care of this. Holly said, I don't see Obama. I don't see him either. I thought Obama was attending. I did read that Michelle Obama would not attend, but I thought Obama said that he was going to be there. So that is interesting. You see how he's like, we're going to do all these blah, 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 blah. Now we'll have to wait and see if it gets done. But what I'm saying is Biden and Harris could have done this. They could have done it when they were in office.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Definitely not going to be good for the environment. Definitely not going to be good for the climate, the drilling. But here's the difference. I'll say this as well. Donald Trump is telling you he is going to drill, whereas Joe Biden told us that he wasn't going to approve any more new like drilling projects. And then he approved the Willow project. So I think there's a difference between like, I am going to do this. He's telling you what he is going to do. He is going to continue drilling, which I think most of us expected anyway. But Biden told you that he would not approve new drilling projects, and he did. But yeah, this is not good for the environment, guys.
America will be a manufacturing nation once again. And we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
Oh, boy. This is one that is also particularly tricky just because, number one, I support the Green New Deal, but I think the Green New Deal that we have is mild compared to the Green New Deal, which came from the Green Party. The Green New Deal that the Green Party had is more aggressive. The Green New Deal that we got is watered down, right? So I think we do need a more aggressive Green New Deal. But to go along with this, the other problem that you run into is the auto workers, right? So if we're pushing people to purchase electric vehicles, what happens to all the auto workers that work at those manufacturing plants? Like, what are they supposed to do? Also, I don't know about you, but I looked at the prices of electric vehicles. I can't afford them bitches. I can't afford an electric vehicle. They're too expensive. So there's that. I mean, hell, every car I've had has been used. Every car. I've never had a brand new car. So I can't afford them. There's that issue. But again, if we really talking about climate and the environment, the big thing that we need to tackle is ending the wars. It's the war machine. It's the bombs. It's the military vehicles that greatly harm the environment. Not to say that cars don't, they do. But if we're serious about protecting the environment, we really have to end all these wars. So that's my biggest thing. But removing the Green New Deal, like, to me, we have to find a way to transition people. Like, if you work in a field that heavily depends on oil or gas or something like that, there has to be some type of job transition, because otherwise what people in those industries hear is that they're going to lose their job and they're not going to have a place to work.
In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
I do not agree with putting tariffs on other countries. I think the U.S. needs to stay out of these countries, leave these countries alone. If you do support free market capitalism, you should be totally fine with having this type of competition. But it seems like what I've noticed is a lot of times people in this country say they support free market capitalism until China is the competition, right? Until other countries are producing more than we are. And part of that is our own fault. You know, who was it that said, let's send all these jobs overseas? Like, so this is part of the reason why we don't have manufacturing in this country anymore the way that it used to be. You used to be able to get a factory job and support your family. Now you can't do that anymore because a lot of these factories closed. I know, like my grandparents worked in factories. So a lot of this comes from the choices that our government made. And the capitalist class and the billionaire class, they wanted to find ways to produce these products cheaper or get the parts for those products cheaper. And we can point to a country like Mexico as an example. You guys know a lot of our auto parts come from Mexico. We don't really produce much here in this country anymore. And I think that was a big mistake to send our jobs abroad and not keep those jobs here in the US. Big mistake. But billionaires gonna billionize.
After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
Okay, I can get down with that. Now let's make sure this stays the case. Everybody, especially those of you that supported Trump, make sure you hold him to task with this one. This is a big one. Free speech in the censorship. I applaud that. Now let's make sure it stays true. So for those of you who did support Trump this time around, make sure you hold him to this. We don't need another Julian Assange. We don't need, think about this, the political prisoners. We don't need another, Amali Yeshitela to try to go down that way, the way that they went after these people for their speech. So let's make sure that he stays true to that word. No more censorship, free speech all the way. And I don't give a damn if you don't like what someone says, then don't fucking listen to them. But the last thing that you should do is try to silence them. I will not tolerate that. So I can get down with this one.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
If you force a society that is colorblind and merit-based, then you have to fix some of the systemic issues. You have to fix the criminal justice system. You have to fix the educational system. Property taxes should not determine whether or not you go to a school that's heavily resourced, right? But that's how it is in this country. The public schools are funded by property taxes. So depending on your zip code determines what type of education you're going to get as a child. Every child should have a decent, resourced education. No child should be deprived of that regardless of what their zip code is. And a lot of people, they want to believe this. They want to believe that we can have a colorblind society. But then you have to, number one, criticize and scrutinize and denounce the racism and the racist. You also have to abolish these systems. These systems have to change. So I wish we did have a society where the color of your skin didn't matter. I wish we did have that, but we don't. So if you're going to just say we're just going to focus on merit, which a lot of these jobs already did anyway, then you cannot do that without trying to fix the systemic issues that are already present. That's my thing.
As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Uh-oh. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. Yeah.
It's not just the military. There were other people that were removed from their jobs too because they wouldn't get that done. They wouldn't get the jabbo. And Biden just pardoned Fauci, by the way. I don't know if everybody saw that this morning. I told you I had to start off with some tea. It's been a crazy morning before I even went live.
And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be freed to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into.
Okay. I don't believe in building the strongest military. I don't think that's going to happen anyway. Military recruitment rates have been decreasing over the years, especially over the past couple of years. However, I can get on board with not getting into any wars. Can we agree to this, ladies and gentlemen? Don't get into any more wars. Can we agree to that? I think we can all agree on that one. No wars.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families.
Does everybody notice this is the first time that Biden and Kamala actually stood up when he mentioned the Israeli hostages? So that goes to show you again who they work for, right? A lot of these politicians answer to AIPAC. That Trump does too. Trump, I don't know about Vance, but Trump, Biden, Kamala, they all get, AIPAC money. And so notice they stood up for that, but they didn't stand up for the other things. Notice they didn't stand up when he said no wars. Everybody noticed this? Okay.
Thank you. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs.
He was dead serious about that. He was dead serious about changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico.
President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Wow.
But if Panama wants that, Michael said, good for Panama. It is their right. If Panama wants that, can't Panama just do that? Like, I don't know. I told you guys before how I feel about these interventions, right? Like, I really don't like the U.S. intervening in other things. And also, I don't think everything is China's fault. I think that China took advantage of opportunities that the U.S. decided not to, at least economically.
Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
Why?
Elon is too excited about this. And I'm just saying to myself, like, why? Why? So we can fuck up another planet. We need to learn how to take care of the planet that we have. Like, people looking at Mars, like, we got things that we need to get done here in the United States. Like, this is OMG, for real. This is ridiculous. Look at that cheesy smile. He's like, I'm sorry, guys, but you guys should have known, like, this is going to be a funny time with me. Okay.
Ambition is the lifeblood of a great nation. And right now, our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans pushed thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., Our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and
Bring back the factories. Bring back the factories. That was gainful, skillful employment for Americans graduating from high school and some who didn't have a high school diploma. And it was guaranteed employment at the time, and they could feed their families off of that. Bring back the factories like that. I don't know how else to put it, you guys, but it's ridiculous that you should. More people are required now to go to college just to get a decent job, and you end up with all the student loan debt. So if you're not making at least $100,000 per year, then it's really not worth it for you to go to college to basically gather that much debt. It's not worth it. Bring back the factories. I don't even know if that's possible anymore now because of the way that technology is.
let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America, promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We are going to win like never before. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly. We will dream boldly. And nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So one of the things that I will say that Trump said that, again, I feel like Democrats could have got the jump on this is ending the wars. That's a big one. And it's bipartisan. Like, this is something that you have Republican voters who approve of that. You have Democrat voters that approve of that, and independents as well, ending the wars. They let Trump get a jump on that. Like, these are the kind of things I think that I find it very frustrating as someone who voted for Obama, as someone who voted for Bernie Sanders. I find it very frustrating that the Democratic Party has not seized this opportunity and just to take a pulse of what the people actually want. And what the people actually want is the majority of people don't want these wars to continue. They don't want their loved ones to go fight in these countries. And so I feel like that was a mistake for the Democratic Party to totally go deep into the war machine and not take advantage of that. I felt like that's ridiculous. So now, of course, the question about Israel also is raised, right? What happens with Israel? What happens there? Is this Carrie Underwood? Well, I guess Carrie ain't gonna sing before he cheats, that's for sure. But that's the question. What happens with Israel, right? Because if what Netanyahu is saying is true, that Trump told him he can go in full force, like now that the ceasefire has happened and hostages have been exchanged, well, then that is still war, right? We can't exclude Israel from war because it's Israel. Like if they're doing it, they're doing that as well. But I think that this is such a miss by the Biden administration, man. They did not talk to the people. I'm not talking about paid influencers. I'm talking about the everyday people who were kind of like, I don't really know if I want to vote for you guys again. They didn't take a pulse of what the people wanted, particularly young voters. It was very clear people wanted you to stop the carnage in Gaza. It was very clear the young voters want the Palestinian people not to be occupied, not to be oppressed. This was all just, it was out in your face. They couldn't get a jump on that because Joe Biden is a Zionist. Number one, watch my interview I just did recently with Dr. West. Dr. West goes into this. Joe Biden is a Zionist. So they didn't want to go back on that. It's a mess.
You know the words, help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Fisher will now introduce the benediction clergy.
I now call on Rabbi Ari Berman, Pastor Lorenzo Sewell, and Reverend Frank Mund to provide prayers of benediction.
Okay, and I think this is where it kind of goes into more boring stuff. So I think I hate to call it that way, but it's true. But I think if there's anything that you can learn from this is that Donald Trump has shown you, the American people, what the president can do, right? Whether you agree with it or not. Like I said, I don't agree with most of this shit, but I do agree with ending the censorship, supporting the free speech, and I do agree with ending the wars. Now, that is a very important thing that I mentioned because Tuesday night, tomorrow, we are having a panel about left meets right. And I don't think I announced this yet. Tuesday night, we're having a panel called Left Meets Right. So there are going to be leftists on this panel as well as conservatives. And we're going to test this out. We're going to see, you know, this whole thing that's happening with the Young Turks, where they're talking about how we need to work with people where we agree. That whole thing. Well, I think what we're going to test out, Eric, can we go back to part 1 of Tight VNC so I can finish the rapper story? We're going to test this out to see if there are areas where we agree. So there are a couple of issues that we're going to discuss during that panel to see if that is even possible in any way, shape, or form. So to Jank and Anna, we're going to test that theory out because from my experience, I have not had good experience with this in the past. I have tried that before in the past, and I didn't have a good experience with it. But I'm opening it up to other people. I'm bringing on other people who have different opinion. Case Study QB is going to be here. Do we get Jordan? I forget who. I got to go through the list. I'm sorry. Case Study QB is going to be one of the people on the panel. And I'm sorry, I got to go through my list. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow night, Tuesday at 7 p.m. And there's that. So I just want to go ahead and finish this, the rapper story first, because I got into that. So Eric, when you clip this, you know you're gonna have to piece those two together. All right. So part of the reason why people were mad at Snoop is because of what he said before, right? So this is something that Snoop said before if you were to participate in the Trump thing.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck out one of you Uncle Tom ass niggas for doing it. Which one of you niggas gonna do it first?
So we're not going to play too much there because the language, but everyone is bringing back up this clip because they said, like, Snoop, you said this about anyone who would be willing to perform for Donald Trump, and yet here you are ready to do so. And again, like I said, like, celebrities are entertainers. If the money is right, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be there regardless of what political views that they may hold. And then there's the situation with Nelly, right? So even Ashanti, I guess, is being attacked by this. Ashanti is with Nelly, for those who are not aware. I believe Ashanti just had a baby. I think they just had a baby. So now people are coming after Ashanti, who has nothing to do with this. And it's Instagram Ashanti News says, in light of recent events about Nelly and the decisions he has made, I can no longer run Ashanti News or support the Haynes in the direction they are going. It's beyond disappointing. For over 20 years, it's been amazing connecting Ashanti fans around the world and sharing news, videos, and photos. I will miss a lot of you. Take care. So they didn't push. You guys know I love Ashanti. You guys know I love Ashanti. Remember Ashanti? Can you rock with me? Can you rock with me? Take the love of me. I just want to love you, baby. Oh, baby. How do you not like Ashanti? She's awesome, right? So they're coming after her. And now Nelly did respond, though. Nelly is responding. I haven't seen a response from Snoop next or yet, but Nelly did respond. I want to show you his response. And by the way, they don't have to respond. I want to be very clear. Snoop, they don't owe you a damn response. Nelly don't owe you a response. Soulja Boy don't owe you a response. But Nelly did take the time to do it. So let's hear and see what he had to say.
I thought you was riding with me because I put on for my city and I try to bring my city up every step of the way. I did not know you was riding with me because you thought I would ride for who you voted for. I didn't know that. I apologize. I apologize. I didn't know that I had to agree with your political choices. And I thought it was the things that you do, not the things that you say should be done. If you follow what I do, this shouldn't even be an argument. He's the president. He won. This isn't a campaign. This isn't an RNC. I'm not out on the political campaign. I didn't get none of that 1.5. You see what I'm saying? Like to try to help somebody get voted.
Kamala didn't invite you to
No. She didn't invite me.
She didn't invite me either, man. I was gonna do all
I'm just
home.
saying. Like, so but I don't knock the ones that did. I don't knock the brothers and sisters that benefited from it. I don't knock the correspondents that may have gotten money to do that. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because it's an honor. I respect the office. It don't matter who is in office. The same way that our men and women, our brothers and sisters who protect this country have to go to war and have to put their life on the line for whoever in office. So if they can put their life on the line for whoever in office. I can damn sure perform for
What,
whoever.
what do you?
So this is a really good point. Don't forget that Nelly mentioned Donald Trump in one of his songs. Come on, guys. Don't we remember when they first came out? Remember Saint Lunatics when they first came out? Remember the song where Nelly said, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, let me in now. Didn't he say that? Okay. So Donald Trump reached out to him and said, I would like for you to perform. Like, again, Nelly has a good point. He is the president. And he also says, so if Kamala would have won and would have asked him, he would have done it for her too. So what's the big deal here? You know, I just know like the Nelly one really like kind of took me by surprise that people were coming after him, because I'm like, Nelly's probably one of the most positive, like chill, like people like stop. Yeah. Country grammar. There you go. We going down, down, baby. Remember that one? Yeah. He's the one that brought you. It's getting hot in here, damn it. Leave Nelly alone.
What do you say to the people that say we're not giving you this backlash because of your political affiliation or your political choice or whatever? We're giving you this backlash because you are propping up a white supremacist.
I would ask them to show me where he's a white supremacist. And here's the thing. Okay, I get it. He did say, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, right? Oh no, that wasn't him. Oh. Hold on. I'm trying to think. Hold on. He did create
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
He did create the crime bill in the 90s, which said that if you get caught with 5 grams of crack, you do a mandatory 5 years. That had mass incarceration. I think even the Vice President Kamala spoke on that part, that said that the crime bill played a huge part. He didn't do that. Let me see. What did he do? I'm trying to think. The white supremacist. Hold on. I'm gonna get to it. Okay. He did not rent to black people. What was it, in the 70s or the 80s? Is that what they said? And like, okay, is he written to him now? So nobody's allowed to change, right? See, here's the thing. So we can talk about past, but we never want to talk about our past. If our past get brought up in our community for a lot of what our men did, we always call it rehabilitation. Yo, these young brothers, we've been through a lot. I know I've been through a lot. If my past was what was going to prevent me from winning today, I wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that he ain't got some fucked up ways. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's why I'm not telling you who to vote for. But what I'm saying is that he's the president of the United States. He's not the candidate for the United States. He's the president. He won.
I think Nelly had the most, nuanced response there. That is a really good point. I mean, I think some people, they really want you to be in a cult. Like, it's really weird. When I got into this space, there were a number of people trying to tell me who I should and should not talk to. I'm like, excuse me? Like, I'm a grown woman, a whole grown ass woman. And it's just really weird how people try to keep you in like these cults, right? Nina Turner commented on this as well. Folks are mad at Nelly and Snoop, but if Democrats vocally supported and fought for Medicare for all and an arms embargo, Trump wouldn't be being inaugurated tomorrow. Where's the outrage about that? It's a really good point. Really good point. I like that. I think did I have the Soldier Boy one? Did I not put that there, Eric? I accidentally sent you to Soldier Boy responded to. I don't know what I did with that one. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I can play his though. Soldier Boy response was like, yeah, that'll probably get me kicked off of here. I ain't good. But anyway, long story short, Soldier Boy said that he said, did Kamala put money in my hand? And he said, no. He said, did Kamala call me and ask me to perform? And he said, no. He said, okay, so get out of here with that mess. That's the tame version of what he said. The tame version. But the reality is, at the end of the day, celebrities are entertainers. This is why I don't think that celebrities should endorse any type of candidate, because you never know who you may end up performing for down the road. And then how far does this rabbit hole go? Does it go to the point where they start to say, oh, well, you performed for this businessman who endorsed Trump? Like, how far is it going to go? So if it were me, my advice to celebrities, don't get political endorsements. It will affect your career. And I think it's just best for you to focus on, doing what you need to do. But I do not think celebrities should do that in any way, shape, or form. That's my opinion. What is also interesting to me is that look at who Trump's team reached out to. Snoop, Nelly, Soulja Boy, right? And there's a reason for that. And some people may say, well, oh, it's pandering. No, it's because the rap community in particular, they've always either mentioned Donald Trump in songs or he was in rap videos, like that type of thing. So I guess that's kind of a response to that. But I think celebrities just don't get political endorsements. That's all I got to say about that. And we do have one more. Can we go to part 2, Eric? One more cause for celebration today. So the celebration earlier is that TikTok is back, which I'm happy about that. And then the other one is what just happened in Gaza. What just happened in Gaza is a great start. Obviously not everything that we want, but a great start, right? So the ceasefire actually did happen. And it's interesting, right? Once again, Trump showed us Democrats could have done this a year ago. It was the same deal from last May. So the ceasefire did happen, and you'll see it here. There were celebrations at the start of it. So that took place on Sunday.
شعور لا يوصف صراحة، يعني شعور لا يوصف، يعني فرحة من القلب، ورسالتنا لأهل الشهداء ربنا يصبركم.
So he said, that's celebrations in the background. He said, our message to the families of the injured. I'm just trying to show you here.
ورسالتنا لأهل الجرحى ربنا يشفيكم أولادكم، ورسالتنا لأهل الأسرى ربنا يقلع أسرانا بخير وبسلامة، ونحمد الله على كل حال والحمد لله رب العالمين.
So they were celebrating there. He said, may God cure your children, that type of thing. Another thing that happened that I saw, the aid trucks were going into Gaza. So the humanitarian aid was just flowing in, all that, the supplies, the medicine, the food that was just sitting out there was finally going in. Of course, Hamas exchanged the Israeli hostages. I think there were 9 of them that were, I can't show them on here. YouTube doesn't like it when you show the Israeli hostages, but you can see the videos on Twitter. But they were exchanged. And what this also revealed is that, of course, as I've been telling you, Israel never took out Hamas. Everybody saw this yesterday and they were like, wait a minute, what is it that Netanyahu was supposedly doing? If I'm seeing all of these members of Hamas, and Hamas has actually grown, which is what I told you would happen if you keep oppressing these people. I told you that would happen. But also, there were a couple of prisoners, also hostages, that Israel had that were children. And the children were released back to Gaza as part of the ceasefire negotiation. Minnie Cherry says, my favorite moment from tonight, his smile and their happiness, seeing him is everything. He is one of the minors that comes back. Everyone, look at this.
المحررون من سجن عوفر الفتية يلتقون في هذه الأثناء عائلاتهم تباعا.
So that's him right there.
مشهد بطبيعة الحال لا يمكن وصفه.
Well, this is one of the videos. Again, this is one of those things that, yeah, Dreamwalker said a minor. Yes, they had children. That was another thing I've been telling people, that Israel had children. They had children, Palestinian children in those prisons, and they were doing things to those kids. And I tried to warn people about that as well. Also, you'll see here's another image here. More of them, more children that were coming back.
هذه الصور الآن على ما يبدو أن بعض العائلات بدأت باستلام الأسرى المفرج عنهم من سجن عوفر، ونشاهد أعدادا غفيرة من المستقبلين مع وصول الحافلات التي تنقل الأسرى المحرر عنهم بطبيعة.
Yeah, so you guys can see it here. So they brought some of the children were back home. And then this one's really emotional. It says emotional scenes as a mother hugs her son after he was released from occupation as part of the exchange deal. You guys got to remember, they have not seen these kids. Yeah, so people were very happy to see their loved ones. Again, I told you before, it's not like these kids have a trial. Israel has been known to just grab minors off the street. If they're looking for someone else, they'll take whoever is there at that point in time, take them in their place. They have been torturing these kids. Like, it's good to see them come home. There's another one here, and this woman here is an activist. And you'll see the difference between how she looks now versus how she looked at the time. Her name is Khalida Gerard, and she is now free. She was arrested after October 7th, but it looks like she saw horrors as if she spent years inside. So this is the woman, and I just want you to see how different she looks now. So you see the picture of her here, the black hair, right? That's her. And then I want you to see what she looks like now. Notice her hair is all white now. And this is not to say people don't get gray hair, but since October 7th, her hair is all white. She looks like she's aged by years. So we've talked about this before, the difference between the way the hostages look when they're in an Israeli prison compared to the way the Israeli hostages look that were with Hamas. There are also videos, again, I can't show in here, of Hamas delivering some of the Israeli hostages, and the Israeli hostages are smiling, and Hamas even gave them a parting gift, giving them gift bags. So as I said before, you can see the difference in the way that they were treated versus the way that the Palestinians were treated in those prisons. This woman looks like she's been there for years. So you can see the difference there. So I'm glad that that did happen. A lot of people are talking about that. And that brings me to this point as well, which I don't think I showed you guys yet. You know, the Gaza factor did affect Joe Biden's presidency. That's why he was polling so low. That's why they said, you got to get out of the race, and we're going to got to get somebody else in. You got to get out of the race, because the numbers were showing you can't win. They were saying that the numbers were showing at one point that Donald Trump was going to get 400 electoral college votes if Joe Biden would have stayed in this race. And honestly, I believe it. That's how bad Biden was polling at that time. Now, he won't admit to that, but check this out, fam. As you'll see here is CNN showing how Biden ends his term with his approval rating.
Job approval at the end of the first term. I'm just looking amongst those who lost or didn't run for re-election. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to see which is the lowest number on your screen right now. And an average of polls, my average, Joe Biden's at 38%. He's actually lower than Donald Trump was at the end of his first term. Remember, at the end of his first term, everyone was saying Donald Trump's political career is over. Joe Biden's approval rating's even lower than Trump's was by just a point. He's lower than Jimmy Carter, who was at 44% by the end of his presidency. Not even close to George H.W. Bush, who was at 56%, saw a nice rebound. But the bottom line is this. Joe Biden came in to end the Donald Trump reign in this country, right? End Donald Trump's political career. And all that's ended up happening is Joe Biden has managed to end up at a lower approval rating at the end of his first term than any president on record, Jessica.
The interesting part about this is that George H.W. Bush, his approval rating was at 56%, and he lost re-election. That was the year Bill Clinton won. So what does that show you, ladies and gentlemen? He's lower than Carter and he's lower than Donald Trump by 1 percentage point. But the genocide, and I'm trying to tell you guys, the genocide really tanked Biden's presidency, along with the economy, the inflation as well, right? But the genocide was a big one, because how can you give a positive, impression about him, and he's just defending this genocide, keep giving them weapons, etc. Like, this is ridiculous, fam. How embarrassing. What an embarrassing way to go out, fam.
And how are people reflecting on his entire presidency at this moment?
Yeah, so if you think this approval rating number is bad, take a look at this particular number. All right, a good or great president at the end of their terms. Well, Barack Obama, 52% of Americans thought he was a good or great president at the end of his presidency, 2017. Donald Trump, very much behind Barack Obama at 36%. But look at how low Joe Biden is. My goodness gracious, you can't really get lower than 25% in our...
He said, my goodness gracious. It's always funny when they're like, my goodness gracious. 25% was a good president. 25%. 25%. This is terrible. Terrible. Obama, 52%. Trump, 36%. Biden, 25%. So you can't tell me that the genocide didn't have something to do with that, right? Then there's the economic issues, but that really?
Polarized error, because the bottom line is there's going to be a bunch of Democrats who would say that Biden was a good or great president no matter what he did. But yet it's only a quarter of the country who believes that Joe Biden was a good or great president. It is the lowest number since AP Nork started tracking this back at the end of Barack Obama's second term. Bottom line is Joe Biden goes out a very unpopular man at the end of a 50-plus year political career.
It's so interesting. And there's so many questions too about, like, are we so more divided now than we were back in 2017? Is it Joe Biden? There's a lot there to chew on.
Yeah.
I do want you.
Why would you ask, is it Joe Biden, when he just told you 25%? 25%. But is it Joe Biden? Yes, it's him. You can look at this and see it wasn't Obama. It wasn't Trump. It was him. It's him. Which some of us warned you about. Some of us warned you Joe Biden would be bad and not deliver for working people, right? So some of us, those of us that did support Bernie in 2020, we tried to warn you guys, you have to do something for the working people. You have to do something for working class. This country's falling apart. The Democrat leadership and establishment said, go with Joe Biden, just like they did with Hillary Clinton in 2016. There was a movement of people saying we got to do something for the people. We got to help people who are poor, people who are working class. A whole movement of people in 2016 with Bernie Sanders, in 2020 with Bernie Sanders, and the Democratic Party and the DNC said, go with Hillary Clinton. Go with Joe Biden. Go with Kamala Harris. Because they thought that it was more important that they select a nominee that was further to the right instead of selecting a nominee that was further left. And look at where that got them. I mean, it's basic like populism, guys. You do for the people do for you.
To talk us through Trump's popularity at this point.
Yeah, so if Joe Biden's numbers are at his lowest point, right, Donald Trump's are right near his top point. We have a little thing up here. I'm so tall, I was managed to able to actually bump it. Look at this. Trump's record favorable rating. You know, you go back 4 years ago, he was at 38%. Look at where he is today, 47%. That is the highest favorable rating Donald Trump has ever registered in an average of polls. So what we're dealing with is something very interesting, whereby, as I was saying, Joe Biden's at his worst point. Donald Trump is actually at his best point, being with this such a high favorable rating. One other little last thing I will point out, because I want to get to the forecast a little bit, is just take a look at this. Will Trump be a good president? In January of 2017, you saw 48% for Donald Trump. Look at where we are today. A majority expect that Donald Trump will be a good president. So expectations for him are quite high. We'll see if he's able to meet those expectations.
So that was from Simon Utaba, shared that on Twitter. Thank you so much for that, Simon. And then there's this issue here that I want to bring home as well. This is another thing that Democrats can do, right? Trump promises to declassify the JFK, RFK, MLK records, all the Ks. Just realize this, all the three-letter initial people, and other topics of great public interest in coming days. Listen to this. He announced this the other day.
As a first step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
So, yeah, and I saw someone said this in the comments. They said he better do it this time because he didn't do it last time. Exactly. But the point that I wanted to make is that the Democrats, why didn't they jump on this issue? Why didn't they get on board with this? Why didn't they say, no, we need to release the JFK was a Democrat president. You would think his own party would want to release that information. What is happening there? RFK, Democrat candidate. You would think his own party would want to release that information. What is up with that? Martin Luther King Jr., if all of the parties supported the Democratic Party, you would think they would want to release that information. But no, this is how you make Trump look better than he is. The Democratic Party does not take the step first. They are reactive. They are not proactive. And people tend to get a little bit more excited about someone who is proactive, someone who is taking the charge, taking the lead, instead of the ones that sit in the back and say, okay, this happened. What should we do about it? And that's how someone like Trump can win. I've explained this before when he won in 2016. That's how someone like Trump, and had it not been for the pandemic, he would have won re-election. We would be finishing Donald Trump's second term right now. We wouldn't be finishing Joe Biden's. It was the pandemic. So if there's anything I think the Democratic Party can learn is how to be more aggressive. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. From the cheerleading days. That's something I think that they can learn. Okay, let's get to the comments here, and then we will begin to head out, ladies and gentlemen. I know I got comments, so let me get to the super chats. Shout out to Michelle Rodriguez for becoming a Sabby member. Give Michelle a big whoop whoop. Thank you, Jasmine. Are they going to cancel their rappers who mentioned Trump in the past, or shows or films that featured him? The WWE. I mean, they claim to know so much about Trump's past. Why wasn't it an issue before? Thank you. Her name is Chris. Tired of Dems deifying Biden, who just literally pardoned 5 family members last minute before inauguration. Thank you, Ronald. Oh, Sabby, I forgot to mention I got my Sabby anime shirt and I love it. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I like the anime one. That one's really cute. A subscriber of the show made that for me. They designed that. That was really cute. Thank you, R. Lee. Trump doesn't have to worry about running again, so I expect a flurry of executive actions in shorty order, Sabby. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think too. Thank you, unemployed scholar. The music shows that they're getting back to their European roots. Thank you, Frederick, for the super sticker. Thank you, Eric. As Black people, our political discourse needs to improve by normalizing the inclusion of both Black Marxian and Black anarchist frameworks. I agree with that. Thank you, unemployed scholar. This is a very U.S. nationalist speech, maybe fewer interventions than the previous administration, ? We'll have to see. Thank you, Courtney. If Obama's not there, then let's assume that he's trying to save his marriage. Did anybody see him? I didn't see him. Maybe someone saw him, but I didn't see him. Thank you, Sparky. Just because Fauci has a presidential pardon doesn't mean that individual states, countries, the UN, or local governments can't prosecute him. Fauci's life should be made a living hell. That's a good point, Sparky. Shout out to Where is the Love for becoming a Sabby member. Where is the love? Eric says, fun fact, Sabby, President McKinley was assassinated by Leon Zolgolch. I don't know if I said that correctly, Zolgolch, who was an individualist anarchist. I don't know as much about McKinley. I'll have to look into that. Thank you, Sparky. Free Greenland from Danish tyranny and brutal oppression. We're only interested in bringing freedom and democracy to Greenlanders. Yeah, right. Thank you, Pink Diamond. Sabby, did you notice how he said hostages in the Middle East? He didn't say Israel and Hamas blatantly, which they usually do. Interesting. That is interesting. Huh. Thank you, Sparky. What will Marvin Martian have to say about that? Thanks, unemployed scholar. McKinley invaded the Philippines. Subtle reference to SCS, but he didn't mention Taiwan. He seems mostly focused on Western Hemisphere. That is interesting. Thank you, King B. Good job, Queen. You are welcome. New York Varsity says, how about close the several U.S. military bases surrounding China? I can get behind that. Thank you, Golden Sun. Hello from A2 Michigan. Hey, sunshine and fun. Maria says, I'm not a fan of Trump, but the fact that Dems have been okay with genocide for over 1 year, they need to look in the mirror. I agree. Thank you, Roger. I have no issue with musicians being political, be it against or for policy, as long as they're not partisan. Keep the same energy for both. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. Like, thank you, Sparky. Trump inherited the don't rent to blacks policy in the early 1970s and changed it. Yeah, I mean, it was a bad policy, but they don't mention the part that you said at the end that he changed it later. They don't mention that part. Thank you, Tassidi. Kamala put $500K in Roland Martin's pockets and more money in the pockets of many others. Yeah, I covered that. Paid influencers. Thank you, Roger. But musicians who are political, KRS, Chuck, Talib, I hold to a higher standard. The whole point of standing up for what's right is taking a financial risk. I agree. Thank you, Sparky. Go Ansar Allah, fight the power. Thanks, Roger. Ray Charles took a financial hit when he stood up against segregation and was barred from performing in his home state of Georgia. That's right. I remember that. Thank you, Sparky says F Israel. Thanks, Roger. Dixie Chicks stood against Bush's war when it was unpopular with their audience and took a financial hit, but later proven right. That's true. Career-wise, bad career-wise, but the right thing to do. Yeah, and I think that's different. They weren't endorsing a politician though, right? So I think it's different. But you're right. Yeah, the Dixie Chicks were canceled. Like, they were popular, and I don't know how old everyone is that is watching, but at that time, the Dixie Chicks were probably the most popular country. I would say the most popular country group at that time. They were huge, and they had crossover appeal. And they said something about the Iraq War, and Toby Keith, who has now passed away, Country artist Toby Keith came after them and blasted them. And the next thing I knew, the Dixie Chicks were done. Now I think they're just chicks. Thank you, Cynical. Member for 8 months. Thank you. Is it true? Is Leonard Peltier really going home? If Biden pardoned him, but not Mumia Abu-Jamal, then happiness and sadness sits in my heart. I didn't see a pardon for Leonard Peltier. I do know the Peltier kids, so if that were the case, I'm pretty sure I would have heard that from them. So I didn't see that. Thank you, Joe. Declassify without declassifying. That's how they do. Thanks, Sparky. We need a new, more powerful church committee in Congress. Thanks, Junuts said, after these pardons, the Democratic Party is dead. Busted Leaf, thank you for great coverage from Pakistan. Hey! Thank you, GDNPB. Trump does not work on polls. Too many people will not publicly support him. Snoop changed when Trump pardoned Michael Harris. Interesting. And thank you, Sparky. Trump said he's Israel's best friend. Best friends try to stop their friends from self-destructive behavior. I hear you on that one. I think there's a Rumble rant. Let's go ahead and grab that as well. And then we should be on our way out. So Jesus was, thank you, SB, for the Rumble rant. Jesus was Palestinian. All this talk about Christ in these songs, Sabby always keeps it real. Thank you. Great. Peltier what, Eric? Let me check. I didn't see that Leonard Peltier was, okay, let me see. Leonard Peltier. Biden commutes sentence for indigenous activist Leonard Peltier, convicted in killing of the FBI agents. Okay, I did not see this. I'm so sorry, guys. Just moments before leaving office, Biden commuted the life sentence of indigenous activist Leonard Peltier, who was convicted in the 1975 killings of 2 FBI agents. So it says commuted. It doesn't say. Wow. Peltier was denied parole as recently as July and wasn't eligible for parole again until 2026. He was serving life in prison for the death of the agents during a standoff in Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. He will transition to home confinement, Biden said in a statement. Okay, this is a big one. I may have to cover this. I'll cover this tomorrow night. This is huge. All right. Good job, Biden, on that one. That's a big one. That is a big one. Because Leonard Peltier, the Peltier kids have been on the show. Leonard Peltier was denied parole last year. So this is really good. Really good. Could have been done, but this is really good. So I'll give Biden a thumbs up for this one. Because that is a huge, big one. Leonard Peltier gets to be with his family. We're going to cover this. I'll cover this more in detail tomorrow night. But heck yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Way to go. All right. That is it for me, guys. That is it for me. Eric, if you want to come on and you want to shout out 11 demands, I do need to just run to the restroom really quick. I saw you have your newsletter up here. So if you want to shout out the Substack for that. Yeah. So Eric's going to come on and discuss that really quick. And I just have to use the restroom really quick.
All right. It's Sabby break time. We'll give Sabby a little break here. Yeah, we had a lot of snow here. We got about a foot here. So it's kind of snowy in the background. But yeah, quite a day to say the least. One of the things that in hi to everyone, and I'm just popping in from the background to the foreground to give Sabby a little break. It's not a call-in day, but we'll do that later in the week. Trump is is just being Trump. You know, he's saying all these things he'll do, and then he doesn't do them because he didn't, you know, the same as the first terms. So I don't really get too excited, to tell you the truth. You know, if it's about what he says he'll do. You know, I think the main thing that we always need to come back to is that, you know, it's a uniparty. They both parties and all their politicians serve the billionaires. And, you know, anyone who's going to be our friend should, you know, leave these parties. And so one of the things that I've been working on is 11 demands. And it's 11 demands for real democracy. Actually, we'll bring up, let's start with that site. So there's the, I'm just bringing it up here. All right. So we've had, let me show that. Where is it? There it is. The 11 demands site that I've had, and it has a strategy, and it has, of course, the list of demands. And I asked people to check that out. And then what's new is it started an 11 demands Substack. And so it's a place where you can sign on to it like you do the other Substacks, and get posts. And it's for posts and updates, you know, about 11 demands, about things connected into the news, and just thoughts in general, and to try to see, you know, what we can do with this thing. And you know, the main thing is just to keep in mind, you know, the core concepts, right? You know, it's a uniparty. They both work for the billionaires. We have to always take it back to the money, you know, the MCDS as the roadmap. In fact, yeah, here's a post, you know, just to kind of get us started on, you know, the 11 demands Substack. And it's the idea, you know, of always come back to, you know, the interest. Is the interest of the top 0.1%, and there's the interest of the 99%. And, you know, if you fully absorb that, you'll get clarity on what to do next. You know, it always comes back to the money. You have to deal with the money. And, you know, 11 demands and MCDS gets into getting serious about doing that. So anyways, your call to action is to check out the 11 demands Substack. I encourage everyone to sign on to get updates, and we'll see what we can build. So, and you can find that at easy to find, you know, if you go to like 11demands.org, the link's right there, or you can go to 11 demands Substack, and I'll put it in the chat as well. But there you go, the new thing. We'll be talking about it more.
All right, base. All right. Thank you so much, Eric. I am going to be heading out, guys. Again, this is not my usual streaming time or streaming day, but I did want to make sure that I covered that inauguration. I also told you guys there were a number of protests as well. If you go to Breakthrough News, I do want to show this as well. Breakthrough News is discussing the protest. I think they're live. Yes. Let me show this. Breakthrough News is live, showing the Trump protests.
Hello, comrades. Thank you for being here in the freezing cold. I'm here with the Democratic Socialists of America's anti-war workers.
And I don't want to, you know, copy their stream because I know that's their thing. But if you go over to Breakthrough News, you'll also see the Trump protests as well. So definitely check that out, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with me. I'm actually surprised we had as many people watching, considering this was a day change and a time change for me. But thank you to all of you that tuned in. I saw some new faces as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I will see you guys again Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, we have that panel. So it's going to be left meets right. And we're going to see if there are certain issues where there is some type of agreement. So, and news stories as well. See you guys then. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.